Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quad. We're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have Cameron Smith joining us.
Hello.
In a jam down by the river. How's it going today, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the day. Let's say that.
You pacing yourself?
I've been pacing myself since like 1.
Yeah.
So I was told that the second time that you ask yourself, when should I start drinking, is the appropriate time to start drinking.
Okay.
So,
right.
you know.
It's good to have principles either way, like there's some kind of guiding way of going about it. I like that.
Yeah. I try. I figure tonight I'll go hard and then I'll just kind of taper off tomorrow, because if I show up Monday hungover, that might be a problem.
Yeah.
Like if I come into work Monday hungover, my boss might have a thing or two to say about that. So
it's nice to have like the 4 days. You come down, first couple days you're like really in it, and then you're tapering off back into reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So how's everything been going? You've been kicking ass, it looks like.
Oh, thanks. So I'm glad it looks that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been getting my ass kicked a little bit, but it's all good. It's been fun. I'm just like tired right now.
Fair enough. So you're up in Fort Worth, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're not originally from Fort Worth, though, right?
Well, I was born in Fort Worth, and my grandparents are there, but I grew up in Johnson County between like Crowley and Joshua.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and went to Crowley High School, and all that stuff. But yeah, like out kind of, that area.
Fair enough. And you and Kevin just tried to do like a 30 songs in 30 days type situation?
Yeah. And I sort of knew that, like, I knew I wasn't really going to, like, hold myself to the coals on doing the whole thing, But it was a fun exercise. And honestly, man, going into it, I was like, I had been trying to do a song every week at the start of this year. And I got about halfway with that before I realized, like, I wasn't having much fun with it either.
Yeah.
And, but I got some stuff that was real useful. It was just the pacing of it I didn't love, because usually when I write a song, like I gig so much that I have time to take it out and try it with an audience and get to know it. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're doing one every week, it was like write the thing and then abandon it until, I don't know, next year.
Yeah, until you get a chance to come back to it.
Right. And so about halfway through the year, I was like, nah. But when Kevin and I were talking, I was like, well, if we do this September thing, and even if I get like 2/3 of it, I'm close to my 52 song a year goal, without having to, like, it's like taking a mini master or something. Yeah.
Well, see, the hard thing with all that is initially you come in and it's like, oh, I've got all these ideas and I'll just kind of pace them out.
Yeah.
But then you realize like all your ideas are very similar in a lot of ways.
That,
and it's
that
like,
can happen, yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, we're 7 days in. I ain't got no more ideas.
Well, see, I like the one a day pacing is somehow more freeing than like one a week, I found, because in a week you wind up like you're trying to really work on one idea and get it to submit. Yeah. Whereas like when you're doing one every day, you just sort of take whatever fish you catch. Like you don't fucking throw anything back. You know what I mean? So what I mean is that when I was doing the daily challenge, like it's like one day it's like I'm gonna write stuff I'd never write. Like I'll write a Christmas song, or I'll write a song that sounds like
because you have such a daunting task ahead. Daunting task ahead of you. It's like you're more in the moment. Whereas a week, it's like, okay, Monday I'm feeling this way, and then you come back around like Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's like,
Plus, there's more time to procrastinate. You know what I mean? Like, there's more time to put it off, and then But I really do think that like a big part of it, at least with the daily thing, like you sort of submit yourself first to the fact that it's an exercise, and so you're like, none of this has to be great. But then you wind up sometimes with stuff that is like that song that we co-wrote together. People tend to really like because of the call and response thing, and it's like I would. If it was just me writing at my own pace, not challenge myself, I would never write something like that. You know what I mean? Everything I write whenever it's just like waiting for the lightning to strike is probably like sad and dark.
Fair. And I think with like the one a week thing, you might run into the tendency of, like you kind of said, everything was like sad and dark, but everything kind of starting to sound the same. Whereas I think the daily challenge, you're kind of like cognizant of the idea of, okay, I just wrote a dark and stormy
I gotta
song.
do something else. Yeah.
Whereas a week, like you said, you procrastinate, and then you've got a whole week in between, and it's like, okay, let's kind of go back to what we're used to here.
Yeah, and you'll get yourself in the weeds with stuff too, just being like, oh, I want to get this riff or whatever. Whereas the daily thing, you can kind of really just collect new and different ideas, and it's more really of like a creative exercise, you know.
I saw a lot of people during the pandemic that did it for a year straight.
Yeah, that would have been the time to do it, you know. I don't think I could ever even pretend to try for a year of that. Like, nah, you know. I guess that's what those Nashville people who, like, there'll be 7 of them in a room and they have to come up with, like, 6 songs a day for work.
I've been, I really want to try and do that with the podcast where it's like, do a podcast every day.
Oh, yeah.
But it's one of those deals where it's like, if I fall apart, like, I try and catch up, right? You know, like, here would be a prime example where it's like I get a whole bunch in like a couple of days.
The mini-mester thing.
And it's just like, okay, cool. Now I'm good for the next month or so.
Yeah.
But then if I'm not doing podcasts throughout that month comes up quickly, and it's like, oh crap.
And you get kind of used to having the stock or whatever. Yeah, I feel that way a lot of the times with stuff. But there's different, like, now podcast is a little bit more strict of a schedule, like, than just purely creative work. But I think there are seasons to things, you know, and like sometimes it's like it's really good to make yourself go to work in like a creative season. But you also have to kind of realize that rest is part of the work in another season. You know what I mean? And if you're just like constantly pushing yourself, at least for me, I know we just talked, there's Nashville cats who that's work and that's what they're going to do. But for me, like, I don't want to exhaust whatever the muse is, or you know what I mean? Like there's something there that like I want to challenge and I want to push myself and I want to treat it like work and show up and do the work. But I also want to respect the fact that there's like this ghost I'm not trying to scare away. You know what I mean?
You also want to respect the idea that this is a passion / art, and you can't necessarily rush art.
Yeah, and also you can't like overwork it or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because you go into Nashville and you hear all these stories about musicians that go in, they cut a song and they have a finished record in like 4 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, to do that on a daily turn basis, it's just like, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of songwriting for sure, because it's like this, it is a factory sort of approach, you know what I mean? And you can get cool stuff, like I love Motown, a lot of that stuff was written that way, you know, like Hall and Dozier, and they had offices, and I heard an anecdote that was like, when they first set everybody up in those Motown offices, they'd like have 4 writers, you know, in 4 different rooms. And they'd all start off the day doing something different. But by the end of the day, everybody was writing the same song because they could just like hear it through the vibrating walls or some shit, you know? Like it just subconsciously bled in.
It's like there's different ways to get to the end product, but for me it's like if it's becoming more repetitious than it is just natural. Like, and I mean that sounds very similar, but like, I think there's a very distinct difference between being repetitious, where it's like, okay, like baseball players, you know, I could throw this knuckleball, strike them out every time, but where's the fun in that? Where it's like the natural gift is just, it comes to, you know, whatever.
Sure, I think so. And just different things come out too, you know what I mean? Like, especially like if you're writing story type stuff, you know, like how many stories, I don't know, like I'm sure there's people who are very talented and brilliant that can come up with like a new great story every day. But most of us have to like wait for a story to happen to us and then capture that, you know what I mean? And even if I was to like fabricate a story or something, you know, like how many different times, like, hey, you ever watch a Stephen King movie and you're like, how come everybody is always him? Like, you know what I mean? There's always a writer who's an alcoholic or whatever, and you're like, man, but they're good, but it's like, it's essentially the same story over and over again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he's like, I 100% get what you're saying, and I mean that kind of correlates to kind of how Nashville is, because they've got it fine-tuned to what they think a hit is, and
sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. Yeah.
So, not to focus too much on the nitty-gritty of life and being a musician, but it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So obviously you just got done doing the 30 songs, 30 days, or was it 30, whatever?
Yeah, it was, or whatever, I don't know, is it 30 days in September?
30 days past September? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was sitting here, I was like, 30 days, we're going to go with that.
Yeah,
so it. The 30 and 30, where are you kind of at right now? Like, are you recording? Are you still, like, are you more inspired now to continue writing and kind of expand upon some of the original ideas?
I'm kind of, in a way, I'm always like sort of writing. Like I keep like a collection of words and ideas and stuff, and there's always like when you become like a like a songwriter or something like that. It's like it changes the way that you see the world and filters, and so stuff is always kind of coming through that lens. But and I'll try to collect it when something because you train yourself to do that. Like if there's something that piques your interest, you're like, all right, I'm going to put that down in my notes or whatever. So in that way, I'm always writing. But right now, it's like after having caught up sort of that yearly thing, I'm taking, in October's been nuts. Like I have I couldn't even tell you how many hours I've played already this month. And there's like, I'm going home to like 5 more shows before Wednesday. You know what I mean? So not to complain, like I love it, you know what I mean? But with that sort of pace, it's like, I'm not trying to finish anything at the moment, and especially because I'm sitting on all this other stuff. That,
you just got to kind of figure out what it is, and where you want to go with it.
And I've been finishing an album, like an actual studio album, which I've never released under my own name. Like I've done little, like an acoustic record. I did like a home recorded thing on my phone, but I haven't done like.
Was that during the pandemic by chance?
Yes, it was. Okay. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I love, some of those are my favorite albums. Like where people were just kind of like, I can't get to a studio. I want to get something out.
Yeah.
Here's a mic. Here's a board.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's kind of the beauty of like the modern infrastructure. Is that like you can do that and it doesn't cost anything. You know what I mean? Like if you want to put out an acoustic version of an entire record that you just made that's like full produced, and why not? If it ain't gonna cost you anything, and even if like a quarter of your audience is all that cares about it, it's like, well, if they like it, and you like it, like never been a better time for that.
100%. Absolutely 100%. It's one of those deals where it's like, I was when we first started doing Live and Amplified, we did like acoustic recording sessions stuff. And I told the musicians after, like, the trade-off is, we're going to upload the videos, we'll give you the mixed audio if you want to upload it to Spotify, because Spotify was starting to come around. I guess it was already around, but
sure.
You can upload it to Spotify, you can sell it on CD, whatever you want to do. And it kind of shocked me how many people didn't do anything with the recordings.
Oh, yeah, man. It is pretty wild because, like, why not? You know what I mean? Yeah.
And then the prime example is there's one girl, she's based out, I think she's technically based out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I told her the same spiel, like, here, do whatever you want with the music. If you want to sell it, give it away. I don't really give a damn. Just, if you can give us a little credit, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
She made them her bargain, like a bargain thing, $5, like very DIY in a cardboard CD sleeve, like burnt, self-burnt, all that stuff. Sold them for $5, and she sold like hundreds of them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think she's still selling them because that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine that she's still
but it was like something that she used to jump off.
Yeah. I'm almost positive she used it to pay for her album.
That's awesome. Yeah, that rules.
Yeah.
And it really is like, especially if you're like a songwriter type where like what you do can be easily represented in that way. I think a lot of people, I don't know why I'm going off of this because it's not like we're talking advice here, but I do think that like folks starting out tend to like be too precious about the way that it comes, like especially these days because there's so much coming at you know what I mean? Like if the core of the thing is good, like you could just get started like being like, here's you know, me playing the songs on YouTube or whatever. Who knows, you know? Like remember that freaking Richmond, North Richmond, like just like the radio over West Virginia or whatever it is, like those things. That song was streamed so many times, like I couldn't even tell you. And it's like just set a camera in front of a guy. But the freaking world was like, you know.
That whole story is very funny. I want somebody to do like a documentary on that entire.
Oh, I'm sure it'll happen. You know,
because
eventually.
You know, like he's got his side of the story, and then. I was watching an interview where like a festival promoter was trying to book him and how he was kind of being a diva about the entire situation.
Oh, really?
And it's like, I don't know who to believe, you know?
Yeah.
But I want to see like a full-length documentary.
Yeah.
He seems like an authentic dude, but I've seen a lot of people that seemed authentic and then were full.
Sure. I mean, there's something weird about it. I don't know. You know, I can't presume to understand like how virality occurs on the internet. But it is wild to me how it happened aside. The fact that many people are listening to the thing on repeat, like however they found it, however it got in front of their faces, the fact that it's enough for folks to be like, cool, like just this, you know what I mean? And I don't know what equipment they're using, but there's nothing fancy about it.
No,
you know what I mean?
They were literally using like a Zoom H6, and did they even have a mic in it? Like,
I'm sure they'd use something.
They had a mic, but I don't think it was like in the shot. So they're probably
it wasn't like an Arduino or something like that. Yeah. I know. It seemed like it probably just like a clip-on mic or something. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's weird how that kind of stuff happened. Or even if you listen to like, well, I don't want to get too much into that, but and I'm, you know, like my own opinion, I don't really have much of one about this fella, but like, the Zach Bryan recordings, you know, like it's like, yeah, dude, that sounds like it sounds like it was recorded on like GarageBand in a room, and the fact that shit is huge is like, well, maybe we don't need to spend 10 grand in the studio every time. You know what I'm just saying? For like newer artists, it's like maybe you don't need to wait on that. You know, like
because like I mean, if you're coming up, like that's the crazy thing about the internet and how everything is like everybody's like searching for distribution, and it's like I don't know like what CD Baby charges or DistroKid or
either anymore.
What any of that stuff is, but I feel like it's really not that hard to get on Spotify.
Oh no, hell no! It's easier than that. Yeah, it used to be there was like a bit of a gate kept. Yeah, and you had to be with like the Orchard or some kind of But when the subscription distributors opened it all up, and it's just like gotten easier and easier, you know.
Well, because it's one of those things where I did a little research on it, and basically the conclusion I've come to, Spotify doesn't have the infrastructure in place to kind of mediate the music that's going out there, because obviously
there'll be like bots and shit on there.
There's like thousands of songs going out a day, and so they're keeping it close to the vest, and so only verified, I guess it'd be like the same for like a liquor store, only verified vendors can sell to them or whatever. I'm like, what does it take to become a verified vendor? Because I would love to come in as live and amplified and be like, oh, hey, you're paying DistroKid $10 to...
Oh, like you take kind of a distribution role?
Yeah, take a little bit more of a distribution role and be like, you're paying $10 a month through DistroKid, because I think it's like a monthly fee that you're paying in perpetuity or whatever. It's like, come to me, I'll charge you $1, you know, just like enough to make it like a little bit of an income, but not enough to be like, oh, hey, only the rich of the rich get to kind of do that, you know?
Yeah. I think like when it comes to music business, any of those any subscription based anything is kind of like you're already they're making their money off of the fact that you paid for the subscription, right? Whereas like if you were working with a distributor, like we work with my stuff on my imprint, we work with Smith Music Group, and they're in Fort Worth, which is great. But it's like we're also just on a contract with them, so their cut comes out of the percentage of what's made. And when you're in that vested interest with, you know what I mean?
That's the better way to do it. And that, like, when I was younger, I used to do like film and all that stuff. Like I was a film producer, and I tried acting for a little bit. And when I was kind of getting to the point where I was like looking at an acting agent. And I had a couple of friends that had signed with a couple different places. And they're like, all right, here's the trick to all of that. If they're telling you you got to pay them up front or pay them a monthly, they're not worth the salt that they're...
Right, because their business is getting your subscription versus doing the actual job. Yeah.
And so it was like, okay,
that's the way I see it too.
That's good to know. And it translates to music, because it's like, you know, even if I were to take like, say Live and Amplified turned into like a distribution platform, which that's one of the many end goals, because I think the distribution platform has been kind of jerking the musicians around. I had somebody on the podcast the other day, and they're like, the music industry is an industry that pays everybody but the musicians.
There's a lot of truth to that too. Yeah.
He was like, you go to Nashville, you go to record an album, you got to pay the engineer, you got to pay the producer, you got to pay the session musician, or like your guitarist, your bassist, your drummer, you're all these people. But the actual songwriter, you're lucky if you make anything.
Yeah. It depends on a lot of different factors, you know. And that's true. You know, it's entertainment's kind of
interesting in that way.
Historically, though, been like at the expense of like the artist, or the, you know, like I just think of like circuses and you know, like an old time freak show kind of stuff, but where it's very exploitative. Or even if you think about the American published music and stuff being, you know, in the early days, so many record labels were mafia backed, you know, because it was like, I don't know.
Not to get in that whole weeds, because I'm sure we could spend an hour on that.
We could talk about this kind of stuff forever, but, you know.
But no, I've really enjoyed. I'm glad we got a chance to meet last year at In a Jam.
Yeah, man.
And I know you're a busy person, so you're leaving tomorrow, or?
Yeah, I got to go. There's a festival, an art festival, like in Fort Worth called Arts Goggle, and I'm playing a couple sets out there. Yeah. Fair. So it's pretty fun. They shut down the street and everything, and they've got a bunch of different people playing.
I was giving Kevin shit because where he's from in Cranford's Gap, they've got a Bacon Fest or something going on this weekend. And as soon as he walked in, I was like, "You gave up going to Bacon Fest to come to this thing?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, okay, fair enough.
Bacon Fest be hard to let go of. Right. Yeah.
Right. And, you know, it's just one of those things, because he's from there and that thing's been going on for forever and a day. And he's like, I've been to that thing so many times. It's not even funny. So I was like, fair.
Yeah, man. I honestly, even though I'm a pretty big fan of bacon, but I can't imagine, like, how long you could spend at at a bacon-centered thing. You'd be like, here's the burn-ins, and...
here's the bacon bits. Here's the turkey bacon. Here's the pork bacon.
Bacon-wrapped bacon. Yeah, all that.
Here's the caramelized candy bacon. You know, whatever. Yeah, fair enough. So, you're going to finish out the year kind of just... doing your thing. And
I got this I actually think next week I got this, one of the September songs is this Christmas song, like I had mentioned, and I recorded it in my room, you know, with a pretty decent mic, but just at home in my home studio office. And so that'll be coming out in the interim. And then really the big thing that I'm excited about is this album Golden Rust that I've been working on, and that'll be, you know, it'll hit the single parade thing hopefully in the first quarter of next year.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
We either need to get you down to Waco or I need to come up to Dallas Fort Worth.
Either way, both, you know. Yeah, man.
I had, who did I have on the not too long ago? Somebody from Fort Worth, And he was selling it to me hard.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I love Fort Worth, you know.
And I think it was like a lot more unintentional than it was intentional.
Yeah.
Lewis, what the hell was the guy's name now? I feel really bad because I literally just had him on like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, dude, it's late. You've been partying. You know, you've been in a jamming.
Oh, Bronson Lewis.
Okay, all right. I don't know him, but
he's a musician, and him and his wife run a radio show or something out of Fort Worth. So.
Huh? Is it on like what? Do you know what it's on?
No, I don't. Bro, I barely remembered his name. So, but no, yeah. So like we were talking, and it's like. It sounds like I need to go to Fort Worth more than anything. Like Nashville would be cool, but that would be too business.
There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in Fort Worth right now, and what one thing that's cool about it is like there's been a bunch of people moving in, like so. There's always had its own interesting vibe and like great little community of artists and stuff. But there's now been like industry people moving in and kind of working out of there. Like the other day, I was at Billy Bob's because here Fort Worth, which is part of the, the tourism or the Visit Fort Worth Tourist Bureau initiative. They do a lot of work on infrastructure for artists. They'll do stuff like little $500 grants for touring packages for like just anybody. You know what I mean? If you're from Fort Worth or you claim that area, and you're going on tour and you can prove to them that you have like however many dates, however many miles away, they'll like supplement that. You know what I mean? And it's pretty great because it's like. Even labels these days don't do tour support. You know, it's not a ton of money, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And they also did stuff like they had this music supervisor from the Yellowstone show.
Yeah.
So like the person who picks the music that goes on those shows came and did this
whole thing
symposium kind of thing. You know, like came and talked to everybody and did a presentation, and it was pretty interesting. And then I don't know, like they're putting on for the people. They're trying to make it happen. Anytime like artists come to, and the fact that there even is an office for people to be like, hey, how do I get my music in this thing? And then
it's almost like you got your own sync license or sync agency.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, they gave it like everybody a little sync tutorial. Yeah. And that lady was like, she was like, I work with folks out of Nashville a lot, and she's like, but the Nashville stuff is super produced. And these shows are like
real.
They're like, we want so I've had artists where I've been like, go record a demo version and send that to me. And she's like, but here, Red Dirt stuff, and it's like very much y'all are already there. And so she was like, so send me that shit all day. I was like, all right.
And now once they got to get to that point where they do the 4/6 show, look out.
Yeah, they got that. She was saying they had like, she told us even what sounds they were looking for certain stuff, and she was like, like Yellowstone. She's like, we can't use young voices because I'm giving away the secret. She was like, we can't use young voices because it's all boomers on screen. So you get Coulter's voice. But yeah, it makes sense. And I guess they have like the Tulsa King show, and so that's going to be a different.
Tulsa King. Have you watched that show?
I haven't watched it. No.
Tulsa King is like if you're into kind of the old school like mob movies, like Casino and shit like that.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
It's worth a watch.
Yeah, all right, I'll check it out.
But if anybody wants to check out your music, where's the best place to do that?
Any of the streamers, Spotify, iTunes, or whatever, Apple Music, I guess. What year is it?
Right.
Amazon. And then I'm on all the social media stuff. Gotta be, I guess, like whether I like it or not.
Fair.
Fair.
Cool.
Cameron Smith songs, I think, on all that, and then otherwise it just there might be a couple other Cameron Smiths, but you just find the one that looks like me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you, man, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
This went a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it's all good.
We got the gift again.
Right. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all later.